In this video I'm giving you an introduction to the Big Book of Battle Mats by Loke. This came off the back of a Kickstarter early on in 2018, and it's one of those great ideas that makes you wonder why it was never done before. If you're running a role-playing game and you're the Dungeon Master, sometimes trying to describe a room can be a little bit abstract. But the Big Book of Battle Mats takes away some of the guesswork. It's 58 pages inside the book, with a load of different scenario layouts, including the grid, just to make life a little bit easier when it comes to talking about measurements. Everything in here is perfect. There will be a map in here that will sort out something that you come up when you're creating your campaigns. And you can use it as a double page spread, or if you're wanting to run a small scenario, let's find an example. Let's say where your guys are travelling through a snow-covered sort of mountain range, and you just want to try and focus on a particular type of scenario, where you might have some hills and some cover, and your adventurers are coming in here, and there's monsters here. This just makes it a lot easier to try and explain what's going on. There's some great detail in the designs, and it's just a really neat idea. I was at UK Games Expo earlier on. I think it was the 1st of June I was there this year, and met the guys, Matt, who runs Loki, and it just knocked my socks off. I couldn't believe it hadn't been done before, as I said earlier. And I was delighted when it won the People's Choice Award for Best Gaming Accessory. I mean, these are great. It's a throne room, so you can imagine some kind of dwarven king sat on there. The adventurers are entering from this side. You've got sentries in each of these points. It just brings your role-playing games to life even more. So it means an average Dungeon Master can really get the environment absolutely crystal clear in the adventurers' heads. The other thing as well, obviously, with the grid markings is you can start to understand distances a little bit better. If you're playing something like Dungeons and Dragons, your party might be entering through this doorway here, and you're trying to describe that there's 2 orcs stood here. Well, you could actually use a scale of these, so you could say that each of these is 2 foot, for example. So 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16 foot is the distance between you and the monsters that you're about to take on. So again, just makes things a little bit easier for the people that are actually playing the adventure as well as the Dungeon Master. But it's a really, really sweet idea. Delighted to see that they've got a tavern. So, 58 pages, wire bound so that you can obviously lay them flat. There's an example scenario. Here's a kind of a marketplace or a trader's area, which has been overrun by some orcs, for example, and the Dungeon Master, you might be explaining how you've seen lots of villagers running away from the marketplace, and you enter with your characters, and this is what you're faced with. So instantly the scenario is brought to life. You can start to see where some line of sight blocking might be if you wanted to move behind that. You can start to see the distances. If you're a magician, you've got some kind of spell or a ranged weapon you can use. Again, you could use the 2 foot scale, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, sort of 12 feet away. Line of sight slightly blocked maybe from here. It's just a really simple way, as I say, to manage the combat or anything that involves some sort of decision making or dice to be rolled. And obviously, plenty of room to roll some dice. If you don't play your board games, or your role-playing games rather, with miniatures, then it would be very easy, because these do actually dry wipe, they wipe clean. So we could, let's say you don't have any miniatures at all, you could say, right, your adventurers have come in from this side, and there's Ross, and there's Dan, and here we've got an orc, and an orc. So as you start to play the scenario, you could say that this is blocking line of sight completely to this one. So as your adventurers start to move around, we're just wiping, and that's just normal kitchen towel and a dry wipe pen. As the orcs begin to move around, and then you can start to play your combat from there. So you roll your dice, bang, kills an orc, the orc's gone, he's off the board completely. So that little touch of adding the dry wipe side to it just, again, means you don't have to have miniatures, and it means you can, well, you can actually adapt the maps yourself. If you wanted to say that we've also got, you know, a large barrier here, fine, draw the barrier in. If you want to say that over here there is a treasure chest, fine, draw the treasure chest. Every time you do, wipe it away, your book's back to normal, and you're ready to use it again for a different scenario further on in the campaign. So that's the big book of battle mats. 58 pages of battle mats for tabletop role-playing games. It's by a company called Loke Limited, L-O-K-E, and this retails at $19.99. But coming out soon, bear with me, the giant book of battle mats. Not content with a big book of battle mats, as of, I think it's the end of September, early October 2018, you'll be able to buy the giant book of battle mats. Very similar concept. It pretty much reuses a lot of the maps from the big book of battle mats, but just makes them bigger and better, basically. So if we can have a quick look, there's the original stone floor sort of dungeon area that we had in the big book of battle mats, but now you've obviously got a lot more room to play with. Again, a large grassy plain, similar to the large grassy plain that we had in the big book of battle mats. And when you get to this sort of scale, because this is the original big book is A4 scale, when you get to this, which I think is A3, suddenly you could almost start to run small skirmish games on it. You know, Age of Sigmar skirmish could be played on it. Again, just trying to keep up with the detail here. So you see the bridge. Basically, we now have a much larger sort of battlefield and river area, whilst I've kept the bridge and made it larger to sort of run into over here. So everything you saw in the big book of battle mats has been amplified and made a lot larger, and it's just great because it just means you can bring sides of the book to life a little bit more. Again, this one originally, small stream, pathway, small little campfire area, and now on here, from a scale point of view, we've still got the campfire, we've still got the path, we've still got the stream, but we now have a lot more going on around the edges. So again, if you were wanting to sort of build the picture clearer in somebody's head, it might be that the orcs are around the campfire and your adventurers are sneaking in from the side. Again, the grid remains, so you still have that scale of reference, and just makes everything easy. Once more, these are wipe clean as well, so that concept remains. And I think for me that is the absolute genius of it, because you can absolutely bring this to life yourself. Some of these maps where things are already sort of laid out for you just mean it's easy to run a scenario. You no longer have to say, you come up behind the wall and in front of you, I mean, a great games master can still paint a picture in somebody's mind, but this just keeps things a lot easier to keep track of. Again, this sort of castle ruins has been brought to life even more. If we look in the big book, we've kind of got this zoomed in area here, but now that's been brought to life and you can feel the scale of the castle that you're working in a lot more. So clearly these are kind of turrets and walls, and there's the sort of internal part of the castle. It's a brilliant idea, and it makes perfect sense to move towards the large format. I don't know how much further they're going to go, whether there's going to be the massive book of battle mats, but it's cool. They've also included a few extra pages at the back. I'll just get there. I mean, areas like this now, you can probably bring a good couple of hours of adventuring to life when you get to this sort of scale. I did like the throne room in the original book. Now here it is now, just on a much grander scale, so you can start to imagine. There's the sentries. Excuse the models, there's a little halfling dude who for some reason is the king, and your adventurers are coming in to greet the king. So again, just a much grander scale of what we had in the big book of battle mats. Obviously the A4 book is a lot easier to carry around, but I'm looking at this and I'm starting to think of games like, you know, Wolfsong. Even some of them might be useful for The Walking Dead, if you can imagine The Walking Dead by Mantic, the underground sewers here. It wouldn't be too difficult to actually start using this as a place where you've got walkers and your team's trying to get from here to over there. So don't look at this purely as for role-playing game systems. This could be adapted for many, many tabletop games, and a lot of them now are coming down onto a smaller scale environment. If you think about Warhammer with Kill Team, mine's gone blank, Dead Zone, which is the smaller version of Mantic's sort of Warpath game. Very easy to run little tabletop battles on here. It's brilliant. I'm looking at this and thinking I could play a small game of Blood Red Skies and have the planes flying over the beach and the sea there. So really good. These are the extra couple of maps I've added. If we look at the last bit, we've got kind of the lava area, and then now we're into this. So whereas that book would end with these sort of blank pages at the back, we've now got an extra desert. My understanding is that the final publishing run, this will be a little bit toned down, some of the colours, and this cool kind of, I don't know, kind of jungle temple sort of thing. And then you've got a perfectly easy blank base to use at the back of both books, which again is absolutely ideal for, you know, campfire, tents. Dungeon Masters don't have to be great artists. There's an orc guard there, there's a troll over here eating a horse, and Adventurer 1, 2 and 3 come in from over there. There's trees here. So again, if you just want something quick and dirty to bring, let's say, to bring your what's in your head to life and to add scale to it, I just can't think of anything better than this. I don't know what the retail price is going to be yet for the Giant Book of Battle Mats, but I would say if you're running a Dungeons and Dragons campaign and the Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay game is coming out again soon, this would be all you would need for that and for some of your tabletop skirmish games. And if you're someone who likes to travel around to friends' houses or to gaming clubs, this A4 version is just absolutely perfect. It's a massive, massive thumbs up from me to Loki. This is one of my favourite accessories, never mind of the year, that I've ever seen. And again, I go back to, I can't believe it's not been done before, and I can't believe that the dry wipe scenario hasn't been done before. And it's at a really good price, $19.99 for that. I say fill your boots. I think any role-playing enthusiast can't be without one. Just thinking, actually, you could probably put your own terrain onto these sorts of maps. And again, plenty of space to roll dice on. So, as I said, massive thumbs up from me, and fill your boots. Thanks for watching.